Well, good morning, everybody. Topic is the blockchain opportunities between China and Switzerland. So we'll start with Mr. Wang Wei with a question, very simple. That's the last question of that Mr. Tapscott asked at the end of his speech. Where is the future blockchain Silicon Valley?
Well, okay, thank you very much. Actually, I just know this topic is about China, Switzerland. Actually, I feel honored to come here with 32 my partners from China. Mm-hmm. We from China Research Center, Blockchain Center for Application. Actually, I have several times listened to Dom's speech, lecture, and also his book is very inspiring. And each time we feel exciting, and it's fun to realize. Still remember, the first year we get Geneva. People talk about the city of cryptocurrency. Mm-hmm. And last year, they talk about the valley of blockchain. Mm-hmm. And this year, they focus on trust. So from cryptocurrency, blockchain, to trust is different. This could be very generalized. The people get the knowledge of blockchain. This is really a revolution, not just about technology. It's about social change. And probably another reason is a regulation of force people focus on very technical things, for financial things, and to more social change, the social impact. So I think this is a good thing. And also, all us come to here, we had high expectation about Switzerland, because Geneva, Switzerland has been a very high reputation about high quality and trust, security. And we really hope Geneva could be a harbor of trustworthy center or city of trust, and then set up the standard, like several speakers mentioned, for the business, and then you can take advantage of the traditional reputation and also outreach for the new business. So that's something I think is a very exciting thing, and then we really like to follow up, to be involved on this thing. And everybody knows that China has a huge market for blockchain application. And also there's so many young talent people, innovation people. If those people could be attracted into build up the city of trust in Switzerland, that could be a very good start. So I think this is a very good thing to start something, just like Dom just mentioned, the integrity, the focus, how we build up new trust protocol based on the integrity, and it's not rely on monopoly government, not rely on some monopoly company. It's technology change to totally change a fundamental structure, a micro foundation for trust. That's a good thing. So, thank you.
Okay, so silicon was the essential material for Silicon Valley, and trust should be the basic ingredient for blockchain. Perhaps, Jérôme, your perspective on the topic, blockchain, the bridge between China and Europe and Switzerland. You are the general manager of VeChain in Europe. You have a foot in both continents. But before, perhaps tell us, what is VeChain?
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. Yeah, in a nutshell, VeChain, we are a startup founded in Shanghai in 2015. And what we do is we developed a blockchain infrastructure. So it's a public blockchain that was designed for enterprise use. So what does that mean, enterprise use? That is that there is a set of tools, a strong governance, so that this provides an open platform for everyone to come and implement their use cases. So we saw earlier a number of potential business models. So our ambition is to be the go-to platform for all these businesses. So VeChain, our core focus is the technology. We help everyone to get access to the technology. Obviously, since blockchain is still at its early days, the needs are changing fast. As companies know more and more what it's about and look at their own operations, they have new ideas and they ask for evolution. So we also help those companies start up with their ideas, so we can develop for them, implement for them, and then our mission is to kind of hand back to them once they feel a bit more mature about it, feel more comfortable, so that they can implement. So now to go back to your question, I think there is a natural fit between Europe and probably Switzerland in particular. Because from my own observation, a lot of people have come to blockchain first through the cryptocurrency. Well, actually, they even come to it through Bitcoin. And as they journey moved forward, they started being more and more interested in what were the projects behind those coins or those tokens that were created. And more of them started to realize that blockchain itself had a tremendous amount of different use cases that could be done. So China itself, the country, the government, has seen this potential of the technology a while ago. So China works in cycle of 5-year plans pushed by the government, and now we are at the beginning of a new plan. But the one before already mentioned 3 key technologies. There was AI. The third one I forgot, but blockchain was one of them. So the government has been pushing in China a lot for all companies to embrace blockchain, try it, and make it their own. Now, if you look at Europe, blockchain has been kind of a buzzword maybe in 2015 after The Economist published the article. And since we have seen a number of projects with tokens, and if you look at Europe, those projects arose from different places, but to me it feels that when they look for a place to do it, they go to, we talked about Zug and Zurich. This is the hub. So I think Switzerland has had an edge already over other countries in Europe, and so that they can now, go the next step and go into the actual use case of the blockchain. So for me, it sounds a natural fit. And obviously, last but not least, there is a number of key industries in Switzerland that have their consumers in China. So first come to mind is obviously the jewelry, watchmaking. There is pharmaceutical. There is a number of food and beverages as well. And China is a big market for a lot of multinational companies, so especially in those industries. And China markets one specific that is totally different from Europe, from what I've been able to observe in the different use cases we've run, is that there is a strong appetite for technology. There is a strong appetite for everything that is new. So in China, you have an equivalent to WhatsApp or iMessage is called WeChat. Everybody has WeChat in China. It's quite amazing. And it started off by being a messaging system, but now it's become a payment system. So like everyone is using WeChat to flash a QR code and pay, to the extent that you can actually give money to someone begging in the street with WeChat. They show a QR code and you flash it and they get money. It's peer-to-peer. So where in Europe sometimes the consumers are, I would say, less keen to embrace technology as quickly, in China, as soon as you present a new technology, it becomes a selling point. So huge advantage for blockchain. And blockchain also is the trust platform. Often you distribute products when it's a large scale, like retail products, through intermediaries. You don't necessarily where your product is sold eventually in China. Blockchain is a great way for you to catch this, I would say, last link of the logistics. Where is the product sold? Who is buying it? What is their profile? And so on. So for all these companies, pharmaceutical again, retail, food and beverages, I think it's a great fit.
Mr. Subilia, you are the Vice President of the Swiss-Chinese Chamber of Commerce. Zug has been nicknamed the Crypto Valley of Europe. And Geneva is on the verge to be nicknamed Trust Valley. What does Geneva to stimulate the emergence of this Trust Valley and to give Geneva some advantages in the field of blockchain?
Well, thank you very much indeed. It is a true honor and a real pleasure to address such landmark audience in a modest capacity as ambassadors of Geneva's assets from the Chamber of Commerce here in Geneva, and also from the very robust and, I must say, historic ties that Switzerland has been nurturing with our third trading partner, China. I'd like to first, if you allow me, praise this highly valuable operation today. I believe that it indeed makes sense to have this event and its first edition, and we already look forward to the second one next year here in Geneva. And again, when I carefully listened to Don's previous talk and the comparisons that he made, in particular between the chicken McNugget and the nugget, or in our case, we may say the Chinese omelette and the omelette, I realized, because I saw all my neighbors that weren't wearing a tie, raising their hands when Don asked them whether they were blockchain experts. So again, you may have guessed from my side that this is not absolutely my case, but I think what we share in that room here is a conviction, and again, motivation is the best fuel. That conviction is precisely the one that you've highlighted, i.e. that Geneva, which is often branded the smallest of the large cities or the capital of global governance due to the unique numbers of players within his constituency, indeed has a role to play. And I believe, but this is again only my very modest view on it, but that indeed stars are aligned in terms of the relationship that we have with China. As I mentioned, Switzerland indeed enjoys very privileged ties with China, and often, while we're not exactly the same size, but sometimes small can be beautiful and even powerful, we need to recognize that China, as the blockchain powerhouse, has also, I believe, a lot to gain, if I may say, of its relationship with Switzerland. So I clearly view here a win-win scenario. And while I don't have the crystal ball or the magic sticks, I sense that Switzerland can play, and is actually playing, and Geneva in particular, while we all operate hand in hand with our counterparts on the other side of the country, but Geneva indeed here can emerge, and that was highlighted as the capital of trust, or as the blockchain valley. So to me, this is again we can offer, and this sounds very. This does not sound very modest, but I mean we all here we're facing fierce competition, so let's have a bold pitch. What Switzerland offers, we all were aware of, and that was highlighted, including by Mr. Odier, is a very business-friendly, conducive environment, which is based on very stable regulations, but nonetheless quite agile. If you look at the guidelines adopted within the finance world by FINMA, for example. So if you add to this what I call the Geneva factors, on the one side you have the Swiss made, which is a token in the noble world of it, a token of reliability, and you add to this the Geneva factor in terms of openness to the world, because again, the prosperity of Switzerland derives from that key factor, and diversity. I believe that here in the region, we have definitely a very strong USP. And we may also bear in mind that while Switzerland is often viewed in the Heidi sense of the word as a nation of tradition, it is a pioneer in terms of innovation. And when we listen to the internet previously, and and Don mentioned the fact it was invented in the Silicon Valley. I must put a caveat to this and a disclaimer to recall the audience, and they're all well aware of it, that the internet was actually invented here in Geneva, just a couple of 100 meters away at the CERN, because what makes also Geneva quite strong is that it's a village, but it's a global village where we can all speak to each other with trust. And I think, again, if I may, and I don't intend to be too long, but trust was in the DNA of Switzerland and Geneva. And with trust goes integrity, as you mentioned, but also security and stability. So these are three decisive components, if you wish. And by the way, and I will end up with this, blockchain is very much reflects what Switzerland is in terms of decentralized, federalist, democratic nation. So I believe that while Switzerland grows to being the startup nation, or possibly the crypto nation, but that's another debate and possibly not the one we'll have with China, I believe that Geneva, with the ingredients that we've just mentioned here, can claim humbly again, and is working in that direction with the support of our authorities. And I'd like here to praise the efforts led by them, and I'm delighted that the Chamber of Commerce can be associated to this. Geneva can lead the way as becoming the capital of global governance, because we need rules into that jungle, I believe, but rules that are business friendly, and this is where the Swiss DNA can also play its parts. Thank you.
You used the word blockchain powerhouse, speaking of China. Yes, how far are you with blockchain? Are you satisfied with the strategy of the government, with the regulatory environment? And perhaps, can you tell us, because you were named a blockchain guru of China, one of your pet applications, Chinese applications, I mean.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, the word, for the powerhouse for the blockchain in China. Actually, that's the reason why so many talented Chinese young entrepreneurs come over here, because there is this very tight regulation right now in China, and there's something is good. It always like blockchain business is so much connect with money, financial service so far, so they need regulation, and very tight regulation. This is a good thing for security, for the safety, but also there is something, you know, the price on regulation will force those young talent guys doing something else. It's the regulation is right now is not ICO, not token, not cryptocurrency. They had to use in non-money sectors. Mm-hmm. And that puts all the young talent people to work in the non-money sector.
Can you give us examples?
Like property, land titles, like property right, like anti-fraud. There is so many application scenarios. So I believe those people come here today, 32 people come over. Mm-hmm. They are very successful in China. They look support and cooperation with anywhere in the world. So they go to United States, go to Singapore, go to Switzerland, Zurich, and certainly Geneva. So that's the region they come over. They try to apply their scenarios globally, not only in China. They are successful. Some people have been listed. At least 3 or 4 company, this delegation has been listed in China. In a way. Okay. So I do suggest that anyone, when later the coffee time, you can talk those guys with the red scarf. All those 20 people there, we encourage you guys mingle together. So I think that's a combination. If you like Switzerland, it's called a 6 exchange. That's its change 6 flags exchange. Okay, if you get more Chinese people listing here.
Mm-hmm. What is the company, the largest company listed
in China?
In China.
Well, there is several
Yeah.
I mean, at first they might do some minor Bitcoin later, but now has been forced to do blockchain application, public key, private key sectors. Well, they have several big name. I think it's tomorrow, maybe today, we had the 10 company has been get award. We announced in Davos.
Okay.
So, so just keep an eye on that, and that's number one. And also, I think the China, just because they're young, the market is huge. The young generation has so much issues. They had the passion, very strong passion to do innovation work. So they could do a lot of things from nothing, just like Jack Ma many years ago. So start something from nothing. So that's very, very, really a powerhouse for innovation. So that's why the people come over here, go United States. Those people had futures, and we tried. So that's why we set up China Center for Blockchain Application Center. We try to help those young guys dialogue with government.
Where is it based?
Based in Beijing, Shanghai, Shenzhen, so most active cities.
All right.
So we try. It's also distributed centers. It's not headquarters. So we had 8 centers in China and also in Silicon Valley, in Dubai. So we try to mobilize those young talent.
And the government, how much resources does it?
They love it. I mean, actually, when we come over, we had 3 deputy minister retired, join us. They support us. So we have a very powerful platform to compromise the conflict with the government, the policy. So that's why China's blockchain market is still very hard at this moment. Even the cryptocurrency go down, the blockchain idea has been so much buzzword, popular everywhere. Even the traditional guys, listing company, almost last year, almost every listing company tried to bring some blockchain ideas into it. So this is something we feel very strong this year and the year to come. Thank you.
Jérôme, as I said before, you have one foot in Europe, one foot in China. What are the sectors which are the more promising in terms of blockchain applications?
Well, I can share with you a number of industries that are very active at the moment. One commonality that we observe right now is that every industry is still working in a vertical, so they're creating use cases for their own purposes. So, for example, in the main 2 I think that are active are the luxury industry, the automobile industry. Of course, the use cases you can imagine is everything to do with anti-counterfeiting, anti-fraud, customer engagement a lot, traceability for cars. When you sell your cars, want to prove that it's not been tampered with, etc. There's a lot of traction as well in the food industry. We mentioned about Walmart, but all these cases are very much, I would say, industry-centric. Is for themselves and their own ecosystem. And our vision is that this is just the first step. So at the beginning, we expect that all these industry will embrace blockchain at different speed. But after they've embraced it, they will start building bridges together. And we started doing this in China. And I think this is an example of something that can be built in some geography. In this case, it's China, but then can easily go to Europe. It could have been started in Europe going to China. There's really a 2-way street here between the 2 continents. And the concept is the following. You drive your car, BYD is a Chinese brand, build your dream. You drive your car in an eco-friendly way. So it's an electric car. It sends some of the data with your consent to the blockchain. The blockchain is going to calculate based on your driving behavior how much eco-friendly you've been, and is going to grant you some points under the form of special tokens that you can use and redeem in your local retail store. In this case, it's Bright Food, or you can get some discount on your insurance. So if you take a bird's eye view here, it's very interesting because around the table you have a number of companies that wouldn't have necessarily done business together. You have a car manufacturer, You have a certification company that's going to calculate. In this case, is our partner DNVGL. It's a Norwegian company. Then you have the food retailer that's going to accept those to give some discounts, because every retailer in the retail industry wants to do some discount to attract new customers. But also you have insurance company, because if you drive in an eco-friendly way, you're less likely to have claims, and therefore you are entitled for some reward. So here you have an example of a new use case. It's no one is the leader here. It's not the car manufacturer. It's not the the retail stores. It's not the insurance company. So these are brand new things that are created. So like a utility company could tag along and say, well, if you use electricity at off-peak hours to even the demand, to make the demand more even, you should also be rewarded. And it's a way to reward individual after they've done something good, not before they've done something good. And you reward exactly the use. So this is the use of tomorrow, the use that will be invented tomorrow.
Okay, we have 2 minutes to go. As a conclusion, everybody agrees that blockchain is something fundamental. But how fast will it have a real and widespread impact, Mr. Wei?
Well, if you work together, it could be tomorrow. Yes.
I agree. There's no the only breaks is our willingness and potentially imagination.
But the first stage of internet, they took 5, 10, 15 years,
Yeah, but now we have now we know that you can start something small and discover use cases that are totally different. So I think the embracing should be much faster. Within 3, 4, 5 years should be.
Mr. Subiria, you have the last word.
Well, that's an honor. You know the old say, where there's a will, there's a way. And I believe there's a very strong will here, both in Switzerland and within the region. And what we see emerging is really a cluster effect. And again, I'd like to thank our Chinese partners to have traveled a long way, not only to go to Davos, but also visit Geneva. I think we have the ripe and mature and efficient ecosystem to move forward. Let's bear in mind, vis-à-vis China, that was your first question, that we are the only country in Europe, continental Europe, to enjoy a free trade agreement with China, which will also be delivering its promises within the internet of value, as we call it. And again, let's all hope for Geneva to become the global center for trust with our Chinese friends. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you to our panelists, and I leave the microphone to the master of ceremony.
Thank you. Thank you.